Okay, so we're going to go back to your roots. So you're graduating.
Yes.
What was your dream? What were you thinking at that time you were going to do?
When I graduated from the University of North Carolina, go Heels, all I wanted to do was work in the film industry. And now I'm 10 years into my career in the film industry here in California, which is pretty insane. The first summer I moved out to LA after I graduated, I came to Comic-Con just as a fan, as this wide-eyed, like bushy-tailed fangirl who was just so excited to be here at San Diego Comic-Con and like experience all the fun, crazy madness that I'd heard about back in North Carolina. And so to be back here on a panel means the world to me.
We have a unique connection, Montecito Picture Company. Tom Pollock hired me as the UC Pollock Theater Director in 2010. And Ivan Reitman was a big supporter of my theater. Yes. So what was about working there that really kind of you think guided you in the industry? What did you learn from those?
We'd be here all night. I learned so much working under Tom and Ivan. I think it was, the Montecito Picture Company was such an interesting place to work because I feel like we had the best of the old school of film. Like Tom and Ivan were these two behemoths in the film industry. If y'all don't, Ivan Reitman, the huge director, Tom Pollock ran Universal in the 90s. He was an amazing entertainment lawyer who did George Lucas's Star Wars deal, which was very casual. And then we had all these great, amazing young executives. So I feel like I came into my own as a writer and a producer through working under them, learning how to shape a story and also learning how to navigate the very intense waters of being a producer and dealing with studio and other artists and making a story happen, bringing it to life on screen.
So all that experience there led you to moderating. So yes. How did all that learning you've done through the career help guide you in the moderating and also to deal with like interviewers like me?
Oh, stop. I don't have to deal with you. It's a pleasure to speak with you. It was funny because when I started working at Montecito, I was able to start taking my own meetings very quickly, which is basically like doing an hour-long interview with an artist. And I learned so much from the executives there, how to make someone feel welcome and to really get to know them, to not just talk about, oh, these are the projects we have on our slate. What are the things that you are working on? Just really forging a connection with someone, which I think you can definitely draw a straight line from doing generals and meetings with artists and writers and actors to moderating a panel here at Comic-Con, where it's not just asking the questions, it's really I try to make a point of engaging with each and every panelist and trying to make them laugh and feel welcome, because it can be so nerve-wracking being on a panel. I'm a theater kid, so I'm like, we're not people, but a retired theater kid. But for me, it's all about really connecting with someone, kind of forgetting the audience is there, and also just trying to make other people shine.
Yeah, and I feel, and it's always, one thing I learned is they're always nervous because again, they don't know what they're walking into. They don't know what you're going to do, like right. Ask a horrible question. So, what recommendations would you have if someone wants to actually be a moderator? They're graduating college, they actually want to do interviewing and almost journalism.
Amazing. I would say good on you. Always do your research. And also, I think be a little flexible. Sometimes, especially on red carpets and at conventions like this, things can go sideways really quickly. So just knowing that, like, sometimes things are gonna get topsy-turvy and just go with it. Don't try to force yourself into, yes, the prep is important and amazing, but sometimes you're gonna have to go off the cuff, and that's sometimes where you get your best interviews and all the gems are found. So it's okay if not everything happens as you planned it.
What was about Hazel's journey that made you want to tell this story?
Oh, Hazel is a very special girl. She is a lot like myself. She is a quirky, introverted, but also extroverted little girl. She cares a lot about the world and a lot about the people around her. She wants to see everyone happy and doing well, and that is what inspired us the most to, follow that direction. She is, coming to Dimmodelphia, which is our new city. Instead of Dimsdale, Fairly Odd Parents is set in Dimmodelphia. She's without her big brother, Anthony, who was her anchor, and he's gone off to college now. So she has to try to, find the confidence in herself to make friends and, introduce herself to people at school and really create her own sort of, life in Dimmodelphia. And so I loved that about her because I've always felt like, for myself, a little nervous about making friends, a little bit of social anxiety, and how are people going to perceive me and how are people going to accept me. And she's, dealing with a lot of those internal challenges. And yeah, we're proud of her for, well, I can't give spoilers, but yes, and that's what she's dealing with.
Now, behind the scenes, you have a lot of hats.
Yeah.
How challenging is that, right? Producer, voice actor, how challenging is it juggling all those, at the same time?
It was a lot, yeah. It was my first time that I've been able to marry all of my, abilities into one job. So for this show, I got to be co-executive producer, co-story editor, and I wrote 3 episodes, and I got to voice act. And it was challenging because I'm only one person. And so a lot of days, I would be in meetings back to back to back, whether it's design meetings or writers meetings, or maybe I'm writing my own script, but then I have to hop in the car and go to Nickelodeon and be in the voiceover booth. But then once I get in the voiceover booth, I'm reading the script, and I'm like, that line should be changed. And then I have to go into writer mode and be like, we need to, pitch a different line for this. And then I'd come out of the voiceover booth, and then I'd go on the other side, and I'd help, Meredith Lane, our voice director, direct, the other voice actors. So it was a lot of, working different muscles, but I think that my 12 years in Los Angeles really prepared me for it, just my experience in writing, sketch, improv, all of that, acting, commercials. I think all of it really, I got to use all of that in this one position.
Voice acting is a very interesting career path because I have a lot of students that watch.
Yeah.
I don't think they understand that it's possible. Honestly, how would you recommend a student maybe who's interested in it break into the industry? Because it seems to be, it's not as obvious as writing or directing or something like that.
Sure. So there are a couple, steps you can take. First, I would say identify what kind of voice actor you want to be, because there are, many different ways. You could do anime, you could do commercial voice acting, you could do animation, you could do adult animation voiceover, you can do dubbing, you can do announcer, roles. So I think identifying first what kind of voice actor you want to be is important. Then I would recommend going online and learning about those roles, like what does it take to do all of those, because if you're voice acting in a kid's animated series, that's going to be totally different than if you're doing video games, or if you're doing announcer work. So learning about each of the different, fields is important. Then take classes. So important, taking classes that are specific to the actual, direction you want to go in. And then once you've started taking classes, keep taking classes, because it's always important. And then after that, then you can start focusing on creating a voiceover reel or getting a voiceover agent or, those kinds of things. That could take years sometimes. A lot of people can be trying to get a voiceover agent for many years. I got passed on tons of times before landing with my agent. So don't get discouraged. Just know that it's a process. So respect the process and respect the craft and have fun and keep taking classes and getting better. Voice acting is acting. So, don't try to go into it being like, I'm going to be a voice actor. Learn acting first, because that's what's going to translate through your voice.
What made you want to come on board Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to do some sound?
Oh, well, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is just a property that I grew up with, and it just inspires so much fun and fantasy and action. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old at home, and so they love to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and just have a good excuse to beat each other up. So, so it was just a really exciting proposition. Plus, doing the sound on it, it's so multi-dimensional. We have action, we have heart, we have character stories, there are big fight scenes, there's amazing driving music. It's just a really fun playground for somebody in the sound business.
Yeah, it must be more fun because at least then the sound, you want to keep the sound, dropping it down for the emotionality. Yeah. And is there a balance between how the action sound, how you're trying to weave it so you make sure it doesn't get too loud or too soft?
Absolutely. I like to leave room for the audience to get extra excited in the action sequences, right? So as you said, we bring it down, we give the audience a little bit of a break for their ears, for their mind, when they're having the quieter one-on-one moments. This new series has a lot of one-on-one character interactions instead of always having the team all together. And so we get to see the mutanimals more. We get to kind of spend a little bit more time with the personalities of the individual turtles. So those are quieter moments. A lot of times we don't have score. We're bringing up the ambience of the sewer, letting us feel what their home feels like with dank, dark drips and, maybe subway trains in the distance, and really feel what it would feel like to live there. And then in the action moments, we can really kick it up with some punk music. We can really drive moment to moment. The hits are bigger and more fantastical than you can imagine. And, there are all the great things that come with turtles: explosions, martial arts, everything.
All right, so we have a lot of college students in the industry, working in the industry. What is your advice for them breaking in?
I would say it's a tough time right now because there aren't as many projects in the works, so it's just a matter of, I like to say knocking on doors, but now it's probably sending emails, right? But we have an apprenticeship program, so we see a lot of recent grads come through our program. We keep in touch with them, and we check back and see what's worked for them in finding their jobs, and they say it's just a numbers game. Just keep calling, keep emailing, keep checking back, do it respectfully. I would also say if you're going to email, just go ahead and attach your resume. Don't ask if it's okay to send your resume. That's a big tip. And also, I think that what I've learned too from our assistants who answer the phone is that not everybody in college now grew up with a landline or calling landlines. And so phone etiquette has now become a new thing, right? Where we're used to texting and stuff, but not everybody is really comfortable cold calling somebody, which was much more common back in the day. So be respectful, call up, say your name, say what your interest is, ask a polite question. Could I stop by for a studio tour? Are you accepting applications? Who may I speak to about that? And then also say goodbye and thank you for your time before you hang up.
What inspired you to create Not Your Daddy Films?
Just by doing the work. We are all so we have 5 co-founders. We are 2 of them, Carlye, Tamaren, and Nicole, Lipp, and multi-hyphenates. So I started as an actor, dancer. I started directing and writing, producing, editing, doing all of this, just trying to figure out how to be a filmmaker. I think a lot of artists are full artists. There shouldn't just have to be one avenue for them. So when I started directing and writing, then I needed somewhere to screen my work for my friends. And then we all ended up coming together pretty organically and provide a space simply to show things and to talk to each other and to commiserate and to grow together. We didn't have that.
Yeah, I think a lot of young girls who, I'll speak for myself, as a young girl, I never didn't want to be an actor. I popped out of the womb and was like, I'm an actress, hand me my Oscar now, thank you. And I think that was just me knowing in my bones that I wanted to be part of this filmmaking, TV making world. And I'm now a recovering actor because I think as a young girl, I didn't have very many examples of women doing anything besides acting. It just wasn't an option. I didn't know that was allowed. And I now, it took me a long zigzag journey doing lots of things other than acting and filmmaking. But the first time I ever directed something, it was feeling like when you know. And that felt so good. And I think a lot of women in our generation have had a similar experience. And they come to Not Your Daddy's Films and they see work by other women and by non-binary filmmakers, and they're inspired and they have people to look up to, people to learn from, people to connect with. And I think building that community and that platform has just been the most fulfilling possible thing.
It's been so special.
Yeah.
And also it's that whole thing of if you don't see it happening, if you don't see yourself in what's being represented on television, etc., you don't know. I had no idea that I could be a director or that I might even be good at that. So I think another big thing too is just encouraging that multi-hyphenate altogether of getting to see all these other women that are actually directors and actors or directors and producers, a writer, it's just there is so much more in us than we've been allowed to share. So
do not stay in your lane. Just
Yes.
don't. Take up every fucking lane that you want to take up because we contain multitudes.
Sure do.
Well, actually, one of the things I notice with my students is a lot of students, when they don't see themselves, it's very subconscious. Like, well, I'm just not going to take that field. I don't see myself as a recording artist or a director because there are not enough women who are non-binary. So it is vital to see it. How has that been for you, though, giving back to seeing the community, bringing these younger artists like, oh my God, there's actually hope for me?
God. I mean,
It's been amazing. When we started Not Your Daddy's Films, not even 2 years ago, the 5 of us founders were like 5 of the only women directors that we personally knew. Obviously, there's millions of us out there, but we just didn't have those personal connections yet. And over the past almost 2 years, I cannot count how many women and non-binary filmmakers I have now met or learned about or connected with on the internet or at one of our events. And it's been incredible. And then at the same time, I know that we are out there. I know that there are countless women, non-binary people, people of color who are doing phenomenal work, but we still see the statistics are terrible. We are still seeing like the sad minimal number of women who are nominated for Oscars, nominated for Emmys, in certain categories. Like, it's crazy that is still happening. So we see a lot of hope and progress, but we see that there's
it's still
so
a
much
fight.
work.
It is a fight every single day. And it's we get fatigue all the time, and we have to remind each other as like people that like, okay, yeah, this is hard, but like you have to keep going. And it's been really, really special to have each other and our broader community, but to just encourage you to check in and be like, hey, where are you at on this project? How can I help? Who can I connect you to? And just be that cheerleader, because it is hard. It is a hard industry, but it's the Olympics, and you gotta develop some thick skin for that, but having each other is really helpful.
And also realizing that there's room for all of us.
Yes.
And a win for any woman is a win for me, in my opinion. So obviously it's a very competitive industry. There are only so many, for every episode, there's one director, but there's like a million actors and crew members and, et cetera. So I think obviously it's very competitive, but like anytime I see a woman's name in the credits as director, I'm like celebrating those wins, because the more of us that are doing this and killing it at it, the more the big guy on top is going to be like, oh, women are capable of directing? Who knew?
And they can make us money. See, the studio where they probably realize, like, we'll make money off them. It's, it is greed.
Exactly.
Shocker, I know.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Okay, so most humans don't like talking emotionally deep, especially when they first meet somebody. What was the impetus that made you want to create Big Talk?
I think the impetus was that realization that it might seem like most people don't want to open up and share their stories, but actually most people do. There was even a study conducted by some of the University of Chicago about people on trains, and they said, most people think you just have to have a head down on a train, but actually once people are approached, then people will be really willing to open up and actually appreciate the interaction.
Interesting. So then was there any specific interview you felt that was really emotional, something that really, wow, this is surprising?
Yeah, the very first Big Talk video I ever did, I walked up to strangers on the street and asked them, what do you want to do before you die? And I talked to people from all walks of life. It didn't matter if it was someone experiencing homelessness or an elderly person or a little kid or a business person. What it came down to, what mattered most to people were their relationships. And I think that was really moving to a lot of people who watched that video, and that's kind of sparked the whole Big Talk movement. And also always reminded me that no matter what, relationships matter more than anything else, more than any metric of success.
It seems like that's one of the things about this, doing things, you're knocking people out of their comfort zone, actually opens up the door and opens up the door for you creating this thing in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now I feel comfortable going anywhere because I'm we're all just humans. There's no reason to be nervous, right? We all just have our own human experiences, our struggles, our hopes, our joys. So we can all connect and feel like part of this life together.
All right, so I'm going to reverse it on you. What would be something you would want to do that you regret if you didn't do before you died?
That's a deep question. Something I would regret not doing before I died. This is
partly in my control, but having a family. I would love to have little kids one day. And I also have this dream of building a place I've nicknamed in my mind called World Ranch, like a place where people can come to that rescues animals, that helps people in need, maybe people fleeing conflict zones, that celebrates different cultures. So I'm like working towards that one day, so I hope I can do that before I die. I'm always like, I hope I don't get in a car accident today because I need to build World Ranch one day.
Sounds like it's a big talk. You want to build a wider community. They're all linked.
Yeah, I kind of want to turn Big Talk into a physical space for people, in a sense.
Okay, so you have an awesome career at Paramount.
I had one, yeah,
Yeah.
very short-lived.
So what made you want to branch off and create your own company, really?
Well, should I give you the real reason, or
It's up to
should
you.
I?
What do you
should
want
I
on video?
Honestly, I'm just very ambitious, and I love Paramount Pictures, but I didn't make a ton of money. Okay, I had to take a pay cut to take that job. As much it was so great driving onto the Paramount lot, at the end of the day, I've got bills to pay. I was a very ambitious young lady. When I was 21, I owned a house. I had 3 cats and a dog. So I saw it as an opportunity for growth, but also the opportunity to do something fun. I mean, let's face it. I'm not willing to do just anything for money I'm not going to be passionate about it. That's not me. So I had a great opportunity to do something that I was super, super passionate about, which was building something. And even the young age of 24, 25, when the opportunity presented itself, I knew in my heart that building something and taking that chance, and I had the confidence and the skills to do it, and I just ran with it. And so here we are 27 years later. Yeah.
Now, it's actually a very competitive industry going back 27 years ago. So what made it so special on-camera audiences, do you think, that made it take off?
Integrity, because integrity is so hard to find. I mean, I don't know if you feel that way. I feel that it is. Like, someone who actually delivers on their promises is rare to find. I mean, even like right now, I'm remodeling a bathroom. Even finding a contractor who delivers on their even anyone that delivers on their promises, and that's what we did. I mean, that was one thing. I sat down with my partner and I said, we can don't say no to a job ever. Be hungry, be humble, but also deliver on our promises no matter what it costs. And we still do it today. We never let our customers down, and it is paid off in tenfold. So,
Was there a specific event you did, or was something specific where you said, we made it? Like, we've got something, we got something here.
American Idol. American Idol. I knew we had something because we were paying the bills. American Idol came along, and at that point we were making a nice living for ourselves. At that point, we had 1 baby, and we were able to take care of everyone. Everyone was fed, so we were like, we got it, we made it, But then that was the turning point, not just for us, for the industry. Everything changed. These reality TV shows became huge. But that one, when I was having people call and offer me $25,000 for a ticket to American Idol, I thought, I think we're onto something here. I think we're onto something. By the way, I always said no, and that goes back to the integrity. I can't even tell you how many times people begged, take my money, I just need to go to American Idol. We always said, nope, not doing it. Tickets are free, that's all there is to it. We could never take a bribe. And so, and I think integrity will take you so far in life, in every industry.
What was it about Wondla LA that made you want to come aboard the project?
Well, Wondla is a sci-fi animated series, and I love that genre. And it's a story that the writer wrote for his daughter, a coming-of-age story, and about themes about finding yourself, finding home, finding family. And it was themes that really resonate with me. So I wanted to contribute to that vision through music.
So definitely an emotional connection was is that critical for you when you're taking on a role like that?
I think so, because it really inspires me to put a lot of myself in it if I'm able to resonate with the story. So a lot of times in collaborations, I make sure I'm able to understand the why of the filmmakers, why they want to tell this story, because I think it really informs a lot of decisions that I make as a composer. Like the musical palette.
All right, so now you have this awesome character. What was your thought process then? Okay, now what was about a musical journey? What was how am I going to represent her journey musically?
Yeah, I mean, I spoke a lot of the filmmakers, what they want the score to be, and they wanted a musical theme for our character, Eva 9, to be both epic and intimate. So having that in mind, I went back to my roots. I'm a piano player, so I started writing a theme with piano first, and just seeing what can I do to make a theme that I can envision being huge and epic and adventurous, but also able to show those really intimate, emotional moments. So it took a time to really craft that, but it was a lot of conversations with my filmmakers and what works, what doesn't. It's not just her. Like there's lots of different characters and different locations, and I want to understand what characteristics they want to tell, so that informs what I do as well.
All right, our last question is, so we want you to assign something to students. If you were going to assign homework, what film or TV show would you want them to watch for the composing angle? Like, what would be a good thing to study?
Oh wow, it depends on what different genre. There's so many different out there. For my specifically, because I'm a big 90s kid and I grew up in the golden era of Disney, I love all those classical scores like Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, like Mulan. Like I think those would be great scores to study and see how music intertwined with the storytelling and the songs and the score. It's very important, I think.